Thank you so much for joining Zero Bips episode 7 for our billions of listeners out there. George, welcome to the call again. Hope you're doing well. Catch us up.
Doing great, man.
Yeah.
Celebrating episode 7. Remember when we hadn't even started, and here we are, dude.
I always, every time we log in and we do an episode, I always think back to the fact that we talked so much about it, whether at the conferences or prior to even starting. And one of the things I always said was like, we just have to start. Like, there's no good time to do it. We have so many ideas around it. You can talk about the branding, you can talk about the name, like all this stuff. But once you start, everything falls into place. And knock on wood, we're on episode 7 now. I keep plugging us to my clients, whoever I talk to. And a lot of people, they'll see me on the call with the microphone and they're like, is that a podcast mic for this call? And I'm like, no, it's for my podcast, but I use it for the call as well because audio
Yeah,
clarity.
every once in a while I'll break out the mic like, whoa, whoa, is this podcast? I'm like, no, I think it's just gonna clear it up. There's like too much noise in the house. So I'm gonna switch to the headset microphone setup. But yeah, what I wrote down when you were talking, like whether like you're in the entrepreneurial spirit or you're trying to be a better person, it's about silencing the inner dialogue. And like we got to do this thing, man. I started out doing LinkedIn videos that I'm like balancing my phone in my living room, echoing, and so like that was when I like put my pole in the ground, my flag in the ground, like I'm gonna start like talking to the world and try to convey like my experience to like move the needle. So yeah, you gotta just start doing things. Some people say, well, what are the benefits? There's all these benefits, but definitely silencing the inner dialogue. Now I don't wake up and think like, how am I going to start a podcast?
Yeah,
At least one less thing.
exactly. No, but what's interesting about this as well is I think when you get into the framework of just doing the podcast on and off, you start one accumulating ideas that you have that you want to talk about on the podcast. You start thinking about, obviously certain topics as well, but you also keep, it's kind of like working out. You keep yourself kind of honest when you're like, well, we got to do this, make this a regular scheduled thing. And, as best as we've tried to knock it out once a week or so, obviously work gets in the way, life gets in the way, things happen, but this is kind of our
Won't let that happen
sanctuary.
again. We won't
Well,
let
yeah,
that happen
we
again.
just got to jump onto a schedule. That's it. But obviously, April was a busy month for both of us. From all the stuff that we've been doing and building, we haven't so much been attending the conferences, to be honest. But some of our clients chose to have their annual conferences all on the same month and wanted to showcase ARCA's capabilities for demos, and so we were bogged down trying to make it happen for them, which luckily came out a success. So.
Yeah, it is conference season, and like April, like a fire's under your ass. Like come April, because Q1 is done. Like now you're looking at Q1 results, and you're thinking like now like it's already April, like dude.
Yeah.
And and on top of that, birds are chirping. There's this whole like excitement, and also terror in the in the environment as far as tariffs and
Yep.
the economy just in general and everything that's happening. So it's a very tumultuous time. But what I've found, as you too, is there's so much noise, and if you just pay attention to the signals, which really for us is growing our pipeline so that we can execute for our clients and grow our businesses and have our dreams come true. You know, so I'll just say it's an exciting time of year to just focus on deliverables and not pay attention. You know, because when you step outside, it's this beautiful thing. But if you watch the news and you don't work, it's a terrifying situation. So
Yep.
it's just time to put your head down and work and deliver. So
I agree. I
that's
think,
what April's been for me. And
yeah, it's a spring forward. It's a spring forward opportunity. So
exactly.
so we've been building honestly for this last month. Obviously we build all the time, but this last month has been multiple really, I would say, impactful sprints from our end. Um Challenges from clients that have gotten us thinking in different ways, and things that we've rolled out that I think is going to be pretty interesting. And we had a call with a really large bank too. We did a demo of their AI capabilities recently, and they're still stuck, I would say, in Gen AI phase, just learning how to use these LLMs for stuff they're doing. So when it comes to like looking at where we are, comparing it across the board to others, this is where we're kind of at the threshold of breaking into some interesting workflows and agentic stuff that we're building on our side. But this month has kind of been, I would say, pivotal for that. So I'm super excited about what the rest of the year holds.
Yeah, and
With
can
this
you
as well.
say, like, you had this discussion, like, I know what LLM means, but I never want to assume, because there were so many times growing up in sports and in school that I just didn't raise my hand. And like, as I got into high school and things, I made an effort to raise my hand. Like, if I didn't even kind of understand, then I became like the annoying student in the room. But
Yeah.
when you talk about LLM, like, what's that mean for the world, and I guess more specifically, wealth management?
Yeah. So
Or let's say finance.
Yeah, so basically, it's the large language models that exist out there. Essentially, a lot of people who are looking and using like ChatGPT, that's a large language model. They're using versions of Copilot, etc. What that means in wealth management, what I've been seeing a lot of people doing, is particularly taking those models and putting them on top of databases, right? So it's like, here's a bunch of data we're sitting on top of. We want the large language model to read this, to get trained on it. And then if I ask it a question or whatever, it's going to leverage that data and then go ahead and give me a response from it. The trajectory of AI starts with generative AI. And that's where a lot of the LLMs are kind of based in, the large language models that use it. Then from there, you get into the reasoning AI. So now we can actually reason through and think and come up with stuff that's not in the sources, but leverage the sources to actually generate a response. Then you get to the agent AI, which is essentially tasking them with things to do, based on what they've understood. So from there, it's a very, and they're not that, that close in the sense of like gaps between them. You have to develop pretty intensively between each of these kind of verticals. But generative AI is where a lot of people start. That's where, the chat GPTs and all these things kind of let you build from a foundational standpoint. And then you get to the agent AI, which is actually doing the tasks. That's like operator and a lot of these other things that do stuff.
Right. Seems to be like where everything is going, right?
Exactly. And that's where really the system that we've built here at ARCA, I mean, it's very early on in what we've been developing, but some of our clients and partners who we're working with, we can build the orchestration of workflows with that agent AI, taking APIs where necessary, using computers where necessary, logging into an application or a website and doing stuff in there when necessary. So there is one thing in the AI space that I think a lot of people overlook. It's the fact that an AI is only powerful when it has access to a wide kind of set of tools that it can use, just like a human, right? The closer we get to the human usage and the AI and human kind of hybrid is, I can log into this website, I can go into this internet database, I can look at a document and pick stuff out, copy paste it into something. AI itself needs to get to that point to do that. So when you start talking about this agent AI and this orchestration of visual computer usage API, that's the next level stuff that we're doing right here. And that's where I think in wealth management and broader to your question of financial services, leveraging that across the tech stack becomes more powerful because it's almost like an employee. If you are just sitting on top of one data or one document, it's not that impressive. Yeah, it's useful. You can pull stuff out. You can put it into a consumable database or CSV or whatever, but it's not as impressive when you can take a human's task every day that they're doing repetitively and then just replicate it for the AI to do it.
I think back to when like data lakes were, because I think now like my brain grows crazy just pushing forward on like where I'm like, oh, everything's going to be AI agents, and it's just going to, and that's what everybody who's thinking about this is thinking. It's going to be a collection of AI agents that do things. And but then you think like it's like when people first learned about data lakes, like, dude, we're going to get all the data, and then once we have all the data, we're going to like look at it however we want. But then there's like the exciting part of like getting the data lake, and then it's like, oh god, it's pretty hard to get data in here, and everybody's talking different
Yeah.
languages, and I don't have time for any of this. And then now that I have the data, I'm like I'm screwed, and
Yeah.
now I'm getting it out, and I'm getting killed on compute. Like the exact same thing I think is happening where you'll have somebody like I think with me, like I have some technical know-how, like a little bit, But like I know enough to dabble with friends to dabble in tools that where I think like, ooh, I think I can. I think that I figured out a way to use AI to make something easier, and then oh, I think I know the tools to do it because I've been talking about AI to do it, and then you start realizing AI is lying to you, and then tools you need to do it are really expensive, and you need
Yeah.
developers to do that, and like it is like so. I think that we're coming to those points as well, which is why since day one, man, the first time we met, I was on the ARCA. Like I'm like, I love what you're doing. And here we are, like a year now, like probably what 3 months later. I always and look how far like you've come and like every discussion or every presentation that you see is how an AI implementation will enhance the tool that you're
Yeah.
using today.
Yeah.
But it's not we're not really seeing it executing yet. Where even I get annoyed with, I use Microsoft tools, across in my personal life, even everywhere. But if I want to ask Microsoft Copilot if I have Adobe Acrobat on my computer, silly question, but somebody like me, I just want to be, and I just want to ask something. Is that you're the operator system, right?
Yeah, you
And
should
you
know,
answer,
right?
and it like it can't answer that question. You're like, we're not as close as anybody's making it seem on a broad scale. But when we come to what I think you and I talk about a lot in wealth management, we're getting there as an industry. Like the advisors have been very clear about the requirements for 20 years, and then now AI is helping us execute on those requirements and help speed up conversions and deployments. I would say it not I would definitely as well. So, and even roadblocks, like when you hit roadblocks, you can just, you know, ask AI about the roadblock. And while typically it might be wrong, not typically. While sometimes it's wrong, it's a better starting point than otherwise Googling it, or if you don't have a friend that you can hit up about that specific problem, you just want to kind of move it forward. So,
Well, I
yeah.
mean, we called this out way back when we were talking about AI, where it really starts as this fun thing and whatever, and then it gets to a point where it becomes more real, right? So, I think one of my sobering truths around AI is a lot of people were vibe coding on Twitter, and posting about I'm vibe coding this, I'm vibe coding that, and
Yeah,
it's like,
I thought I was working. I was vibe coding. I was
yeah,
vibe
you're
coding.
you're
Yeah,
essentially
yeah.
vibe coding, and it makes sense. But then there was one great post that someone sent out on a tweet, um, and they were like, "Well, can you actually deploy it?" And then it was like, "Oh, well, now after you vibe code, sure, you have the code, you can kind of run it in a VM, whatever. But when it comes to actually making it a commercially viable software, that looks very different, and that's
If
where
you
we're hitting the
deployed something,
roadblocks."
if you deployed something really profitable to production, would you say that you vibe coded it? Like, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah,
Like
probably
that.
not.
That's where it's like, like
Probably
not
not.
yet. Took a team. I mean, I haven't seen anybody or talked to anybody who's done that yet in wealth management. Like, no. So something that's really like a game changer. Advisors are like, yo, thank
Yeah.
you. Hey,
I've
but
talked to a lot of people who have tried, and this has been something that's come up multiple times where they're like, I have this idea of what I wanted to do. And I'm like, great. And how'd that go? And it's like, well, I hit a bunch of like these walls around authentication. I hit this thing where I couldn't like get this stuff right and the data coming right. And it's like, yeah, because the reality is, not everything is built AI native where they're gonna talk. Yeah, there's connections you can build, there's all this stuff, there's gonna be APIs that are gonna help, but there's so much that goes around making it a commercially viable tool that you're just not gonna be able to vibe code it and solve for it that way. Because you're still taking the software that's sitting out there in SaaS world that's been out there for so long, and then you're trying to bring it at the forefront of AI. Well, that middle step is much more difficult of a leap so far until they get there, until everyone gets to the same spot.
one enhancement that a car just drove by in the distance made me think about it. Um, I was driving and I was using Aura, which is Grok's like
Voice
vocal
one,
AI,
yeah,
and the assistant mode in particular. But instead of like waiting, oh, I got to get home and Google that, which is something you would have thought 2 years ago, you can now just go into voice mode. Like I don't have like self-driving, so I have to drive, and but I can talk, and you can have a conversation that you would again have otherwise had to wait till you got home to Google. Like,
Yeah.
huh, have an entire conversation about compliance. you know I started out by kind of bashing AI as where I bash it is kind of like where everybody thought the parallel I was trying to create was people think it was easy to connect a data lake to a visual layer and ignore like the business logic in between, which is like all the magic. And it's
Yeah.
the same as like ideation with your AI, idea and production. It's like
Speaking of that, I
we're
have a great idea for the next episode.
let's do
Why
it.
don't we just invite Grok as the first guest?
I was gonna start like here. I was gonna be like and start, but that's a good idea. That would be
Honestly,
fun.
like I'm gonna try to find a way to just pipe in Grok as the voice, the aura, as a guest, and then just see maybe it's just a permanent third co-host that stays on to zero
Yeah,
vips.
tell us if we're like losing, like saying something that's just not like on the mark as far as what's happening at the specific moment
Well,
in the
it's like Joe
space.
Rogan's Jamie, the producer who's sitting off
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
camera. It's like, hey Jamie, can you just pull that video up? We just
Yeah.
don't
Can you
know
pull that
tell it to
up?
do stuff.
You know what? That was an annoying thing about. I wanted to ask Aura about that. Is you could ask Grok things and then read it, and it was like you can even be like, could you email that to me? Like, yeah, I'll email that to you. You're like, oh, sweet, dude, that's amazing. Oh, and I know it was. I was talking to Aura too, where I was like, that's great. I was like driving somewhere, and I was like, can you send that to my email address? And blah 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 blah. And it didn't do it. And then I checked further, and it's not capable of doing that. I'm like, eh,
Well,
I
there's
was
going to
just,
be
you
difference.
send me an
That's
email.
exactly the thing, though, because think of it this way: sending emails and all, and the mail servers and all this stuff is a little older technology that's not ready for the type of kind of pipes, or it's not built yet. Doesn't mean you can't do it. Same thing for like actually transcribing like audio. If you were to go and try to transcribe audio, I just had an attorney friend of mine who asked for this capability. He's like, "You work with AI. Can I just give you an audio to transcribe?" The way that it works is that you would need to download the plugin for what ChatGPT uses called Whisper, or you need to go to like Otter AI that they have it already built in, etc. So there are means of doing it, and I'm sure there's the plugin for the email capabilities for Aura, for ChatGPT, for your operator, etc. It's just going to take some time for those things to catch up to be able to do that. And that's the middleware stuff that can exist out there that I think is going to kind of close that gap and make it a much more usable thing for people like you.
Yeah, because I was like, how is it using like what is it? It have an email server? Like, and then, yeah, I'm like, it couldn't even. And then yeah, like it was saying that it was doing work in Replit that it wasn't doing, and I was like, I don't trust that you're going to do this.
Yeah.
Show me, a snippet of code. I want to see the snippet of code. Yeah, well, it looks pretty good. Like, so when do you think this will be ready? I'll merge the project with your Replit file, but by the time you wake up in the morning, all right, sweet. Don't believe you, but I hope so. And
Yeah.
then it's not there and nothing happens. Like, oh
Well, a lot
man.
of it is just they're so eager to please. Like the AI itself, I mean, we're talking about it like in the third person, but
Yeah,
it's
maybe
so
I have to
eager to
ask for it to
please.
not lie to me.
Yeah, you have to just set up the initial prompts to don't lie, don't say this, don't say that, and then just try to get it that way. But those are the guardrails that exist that you can build to, and there are a lot, and that's why like something like not a shameless plug into ARCA, but stuff
Please
that we
go there
built.
because that's what that's great. Not a shameless plug. Like go there because like what I explained is a lot of skepticism about somebody pushing AI. Like I think if like AI makes me uncomfortable because I don't understand it enough. So like I gotta like understand like Perplexity, DeepSeek, ChatGPT, Grok. Like I gotta at least kind of understand the strength and try to figure it out. And like if you're not like I'm like you're crazy. You got to be like there's like you can just take a picture of your broken dehumidifier and it'll tell you that you need to clean off a sensor on the back and it's not broken. I mean, it's like I'm giving you a real use case of so it's such an incredible tool, but I would love to hear
You have to
about
build it. You have to build it with the guardrails. That's the thing.
right.
Like for
And
it
I
to
was gonna
work.
say I'd love to hear about ARC like how ARCA appeases a lot of those concerns that, and like you've gone, like you had the idea and then you came up with the name. I'd love you to tell me more about it. I know what it means. Which is funny. I'll tell you what. Grendel, Guidotti's redundant electronic network and digital electronic library. I was like, it was the name of a server in the office, and then like we had different names, Mule, like all these different things,
Yeah.
Beowulf, which is like Grendel was a character in the story Beowulf. But I'd love to hear about like kind of the genesis of the name and like how, like you got it from again ideation to production. Like you have people using it, and you know
Yeah.
the future is
Well, I
bright
mean,
for art.
the idea when I was when I left Adapar and I was doing a lot of the consulting around Adapar style systems and SaaS, when I started thinking about kind of what's next, initially, one thing that I always came across with developers is once they saw the system, like Adapar itself or Black Diamond, APX, whatever, you start kind of building back into that system. You start building with that system in mind. So you're not really being innovative. You're literally just doing like, well, they have this view, I'm going to make a view. They have this report, I'm going to make this report. So you start going down this route of just literally inventing a newer system, which is not by any means better, because you're going to build it with some stuff and assumptions in there that take tech debt on
Right.
and things like that. So when we started, we wanted to build a software that was going to let you be the king of kind of your domain, your data and everything. And ARCA in Armenian means king. And so when we first took the name, we thought it was cool. I love, two-syllable names and things like that. And it starts with A and you're kind of naming a startup and stuff. But realistically, it really got down to the point where we were like, yeah, we want to kind of be the king of our domain. We want to be king of everything that happens within the system itself, whether it's data intensive, whether it's reporting or whatever. I want to kind of command it. I wanted to do all this stuff. Well, initially, we kind of looked at it as like that was a little far away from what reality was because any team I was deploying into like a system like Adapar, they needed power users to run it. They needed a team of people, consultants, hiring us, etc. So how do we actually kind of close that gap? Well, let's leverage AI to do it. AI is going to give us that wand to be able to just command it to do a bunch of this stuff with this data, and that's how like fundamentally it started. So that was partially the name, and then also the philosophy behind it. But now what we've realized is like each of these things are like modules that we're building. They're microservices under the umbrella of ARCA that are doing all this stuff. And even now, things like proposal generation. So people, uploading a custodial statement and saying like, here's my models, tell me what I should sell or buy or do whatever, and make it as sensitive as you want to the tax, long-term gain, short-term gain, etc. Here's how much budget we want to allocate to short-term gains that we want to pay on taxes, etc. So there's all these things now that we're building that become much more intense. But it's super interesting because the foundation layer is set. After this, it's just kind of going up as a skyscraper on top of it. So
Right. The king of the mountain.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, so that's how it all got started, and that's how we, till today philosophically think about it. And we don't want to be building software that just kind of is one of these things in the kits map and it's like, oh, it just disappears. We want to be encompassing a lot of those operations because, recently, not to kind of change course, but a lot of people are literally just like bagging on the kits map and whatever. It's like 100. I don't even know what the number of
Too
vendors on
many.
there are. Yeah, it's too many. The number is too many.
You should have
And
like
there's
top 10 for each category, maybe. I don't know what we do about that. It's not my
no, I
fault.
think, well, that's the thing. My biggest thing is like with AI, you can get rid of like two, three, four, five of those categories easily. And it's going to be interesting how that kind of that evolution occurs. But realistically,
Yeah.
now there's too many products. The Joe Moss book where I said this book is what's wrong with this industry. Like I stand by it because I'm seeing so much of it, and everyone is just plugging AI anywhere. AI whitewashing is going to be such a big thing for the next couple of years. I think where people are claiming it's AI, it's not really. They're not really leveraging large language models to do stuff, or even if they are, it's very superficial. It's not really embedded in their code. So those are the types of things that I think are going to come out, and Yeah, I think a lot of people, even Craig Iskowitz's little map of like Zeppelin and Jump AI and where things kind of sit, like those were all note-taking applications. Like that was a large, like I think there was like what, 10, 12.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I remember I
Yeah, the
saw
bubble
that one.
map
Yeah, I was
that he
like,
put
oh
out.
man.
And it's like it was cost to usage to something, and you have like Firefly AI and stuff underneath where it was like the cheaper alternative, but it's not purpose built for wealth management. But I've been seeing more Firefly AI things log into like Zoom meetings than anything at this point. So
You know what I like about what you said, kind of like when you think about like how you started ARCA and how the product developed, like there, what drove the evolution of Grendel back in the day, like the reason it was the best CRM, and I'll say like Wealthbox is the best CRM now, but prior to that, we were the best CRM because people are like, well, how do you decide what to do next? It's like it's almost like an interview question for a product manager, like how do you decide to do what to do next? And you're like, oh, reach, impact. What does C stand for? Is I know it's C. Anyway, Rice impact. What is it? No, it's not rice. Well, whatever. I can't even remember. But
yeah,
when you think about what you want to do next, I can't believe I can't remember that one. It was an old concept that I read about when I was trying to teach myself agile. but just fundamentals. But what
confidence, effort,
the confidence and
reach,
effort. That's
impact,
right. Yeah,
confidence,
yeah. I
effort.
should have
Yeah.
just looked it up. Yeah. Why are yeah, yeah, yeah.
If
So
we had
reach.
Grok on the call, we just ask it to do it. That's
Yeah, I
it.
know, but like, yeah, what does RICE stand for as far as the software development like prioritization schedule goes? And like the reality is it's such a bullshit question because in the end, you're prioritizing based on business needs, incoming statement of work, your largest clients, everybody's freaking out. I mean, you want to get that down, and like that's what makes some project managers better than the other, and it's just how and officers, it's just how they chill that out and like keep prioritized. But back to prioritization, and what I was saying is how you developed ARCA and how we developed Grendel was we just need to stop these inbound emails and phone calls from advisors. Like, just, like what are they all asking about? Like it was like and so it was just like keep giving them what they want, and then like we had weekly webinars so like they could ask questions and give feedback constantly. And so the natural evolution of the ultimate software package to me would be like you've got ARCA, which is instead of the advisors phone calling and emailing people for something, they're just asking the tool for what it wants. And not only that, it's like so because that's your domain, you're specializing and give it what it wants within the wealth management domain, but you've also got these truly integrated workflows, which it's almost like I got to come up with two words that are better than like integrated workflows. But what I know you're executing on now at ARCA is is what advisors want because you're developing based on the feedback of advisors.
Correct. They're all development partners for us.
Right,
Correct.
right. And so yeah, do everything you can to keep everybody quiet and just working, you know. So like yeah, if your entire workforce is like, oh, this part's just bottlenecking, it's slowing me down, it's doing this, it just sucks, and you know, you grease the wheels for them to get through their day and make it easier, they produce more and they're happier employees. So, better producers as far as advisors go. I guess production's not the word I'm looking for necessarily, but actually, production is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
We want production out of everybody. So
Think of it this way though. Here's a question for you. You're at iPipeline. You guys have a bunch of applications that do stuff for the insurance space. Think about how archaic a lot of those workflows are that you guys are catering to, right? People
you know
by
what's
hand
archaic?
reviewing policies,
Yeah.
right?
What's archaic is the idea. So there's like this separation in you've got the insurance space, wealth management space. Insurance space is perceived to be this vertical where uh, insurance agents sell things to investors and they pocket commissions on it and then they go do it again. And then in the wealth management space, we preserve a pool of assets and we manage it based on your personality, your temperament, your investment policy statement, your whatever, your suitability. But we're going to align you with a model portfolio that kind of aligns with that pool of assets and mitigates risk. And then there's all sorts of tools that you can engage with. But there's also times where over here in the insurance vertical, something like an annuity is in the best interest of the investor that has money in that pool of assets. So if you think about them individually, so that separation is if I'm an RIA and I want to do stuff over in the insurance vertical, I have to engage with a broker dealer. But these large upmarket RIAs, let's say 10 billion plus, is where it becomes, because everybody wants to be able to, I'd love to get my hands, I'll just tell my client to go there and get that, and it's the best thing. Or if you're talking to an IAR of an RIA, they've got someone or some relationship with some intermediary to align the client with a policy. But really for these upmarket, like they've got the in-house talent to, like, the thing that sucks about setting up a broker dealer is regulations, the
Yeah,
states, but a compliance team. But the thing is that, like, a lot of these big RAs have those things. So it's
yeah,
not like
of
you'll be
course,
starting a broker dealer from scratch. But if we were a big RA with $20 billion, we probably have a lot of things in place. We're like, what are we missing? We're missing an annuity order entry system, which is, how are we going to purchase annuities and make it really easy for our advisors to use this beautiful experience we've curated in Salesforce or ARCA. And just, if I want to give my client this thing, can I just tell it to give it that thing? Because you and I both know that's where it's going to be in like 5 years. So
of course.
like how quickly. So right now, what I see is, I'm like, I'm excited that I have an opportunity to let the wealth management space, like, these tools are available to you. It's not as impossible to be your own broker dealer, because as a large RA, you have a lot of the things. And it's funny. This is one of the conversations I was having with Aura. I was talking about starting my own broker dealer, and I was a hypothetical scenario where I was a $30 billion RIA, and I was talking about what it would take, and it was like, so this was a conversation. It was almost probably like a 40-minute conversation. Um, but the tools that when the, that support what a broker dealer needs to do to align an annuity with an investor, with the suitability considerations and all the compliance considerations in mind. Like, iPipeline nails that. And then because they have such a presence in the annuity or in the insurance vertical, when you're using their tools, they have all the data. It's like, it's almost like they don't care where you bought the policy. It's like, we are it's a data pipeline.
Yeah,
It's iPipeline, but it's a data pipeline where you're like, wow, there's like, imagine if in wealth management you could start opening up account and I type Haik Sahakyan, and it's like, this Haik, like, just like when you're typing in an address and it pre-fills their asset, oh, that Haik, like,
yeah, yeah.
assuming I have access to like that much information about you, I can take it that far. So it's incredible what it can do, and I'm like, wow, we just need the RIA space to know. So that's what I've been seeing. And then when we think about like kind of like the AI, like I just talked to you about how it could, like, even in the suitability, always going to have to run through humans, because like you and I were saying, it's like, but at least we could be like, could you isolate it to an alerts area that I log into at 8 o'clock, and there's the updated alerts, there's the unmitted, well, however they want to set up the business rules to view
Yeah.
that alert section so that they can act on it from within the alert section. So we do a lot of those things, but then I even see AI greasing the wheels of that process and turning it into more of a conversational piece with less configuration, yeah,
Yeah.
with complexities is what I.
Well, imagine the funny thing is, you remember when I showed you that podcast that we were developing just based off of portfolio data where we were putting it in and it was giving you
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of a rundown? Imagine you have your daily alerts show up like that. So you're on your way to the office. It comes in this audio form for you easily to consume. You don't need to read anything on the drive. You just hit play and it's like, well, George Guidotti's policy needs to renew and this, and
Amazing.
there's this new offering and whatever. And so luckily, and then if you interact with it and can respond live, hey, that's a good idea. Let me actually go ahead and create that task for me to look at once I'm back at the office. Now it's that's your assistant that's with you 24/7. And that's what we were talking about, where I think this really shakes things up.
Yeah, because like a lot of times, the only times I get a lot of great ideas in the morning. I'm also like bombarded with my kids in the morning as they like go off to school. So it's like I get a lot of good ideas like while I'm shaving, like like getting ready. And so it's
Yeah.
like that's when I'm like that's when I'm listening to podcasts because like everybody nobody's bugging me. It's like
That's where
but
innovation
so
happens.
it's a great time to work with AI and like sometimes that's when you'll be like I know what I need to do today, and those are just the moments. Probably like a combination of a good night of sleep, which is really important to me
Yeah.
and a great double espresso. Also, top priority for me.
Yeah.
So when I and then I'm shaving, I'm getting these ideas before I start the day. I'm getting so it's that's when I'd like to use AI just to tell me or do something and get it going, as opposed to usually it's usually when I'll kick out an email or something.
Well, speaking of espressos, I wish you could make one for me, or cappuccino, because I can't. More recently, I've been on calls where I have like a cappuccino, especially in this last month, because it was a lot of sleepless nights of coding and developing, and then I would be on calls in the morning
You
with
should
like
have just
two,
had
three
AI
coffees.
do it, dude.
Exactly. Just have AI do this stuff so I can enjoy my day. But we I was talking, I remembered because you said the milk thing is really tough because you gotta texture the milk, you gotta do all this stuff. And it's its own little art, to be honest. And I'm getting the hang of it, but I can't do cool shapes yet. I can do a shape and then tell you
No
what it
art.
looks like after. It's more like a abstract Picasso. But I can't do, if you told me to make a leaf, I can't do it.
Yeah, I make like white clouds because it just drops like a miniature marshmallows and like whatever it turns into is like what I say it is. I'm like, hey, look at this.
Yeah.
Here's like I tried to make a kid on a bike for you,
Yeah.
and like no, it's all messed up now.
Yeah. Well, it's like that's what happens, but
Well, yeah, I mean, I could spend time. I think it's key to start out with like a little bit of milk because like it's once you can't froth a lot of milk. It froths over. So
well,
you got
you
to use
have
a
the
little bit.
Breville. Yeah, so
What's
like
that?
you have the Breville one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we're in the same machine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you go, I think, right a little like less than halfway is where you go, and it's a mixture
I
of milk and
go,
half and half.
I go maybe no, I'll probably go a third at most, at most.
Yeah, yeah,
Probably
yeah.
more like a fifth, like two fingers.
Yeah, that's kind of around there. And then when you actually do the texturizing, I hold it at like an angle, and then I get the vortex going, and then from there, I think well, I just thought this is how it worked, but maybe it's wrong. But you want to get like one of those. I think those ceramic cups actually help a lot because it does get the crema up to the wall, so then you can actually get the milk to go underneath it, and then while the crema comes back down, that's when you kind of layer it.
Yeah,
With the glass, it's tougher. So I'm training with glass. I'm just doing this stuff with
yeah,
glass.
yeah.
So
That's hard. I'm using ceramic too, but
yeah,
yeah, like it's just like another thing where I'm like, am I gonna sit down and research how to do this? It's like I saw a meme, it carried through like it was just a joke about how impossible the software development life cycle is, just with some friends I have in the product
yeah,
space, where it's like ultimately like what are your engineers gonna do in this sprint? Do you want us to fix the bugs, or give you like what you want? And it's like I'm getting that way with my own time where it's like, do I want to learn how to make a basil leaf on top of my cappuccinos, or like research something that could generate pipeline?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I, and so like I've gotten so obsessed with AI that not, I, I have. I was actually about to walk back that statement, but where
That's
it's
true.
like pushing the boundaries of the tools. Like I'm not really like it's really drawn out to what I was saying earlier. A lot of the noise of the world, where because I'm just so focused on like some people do other things after they work. Like I work, I have my kids, and then like I get back into like everything that you and I talk about. It like, dude, like this is where blah blah. Like I'm still really excited about that stuff, and like that's kind of like that's why we have zero basis points. Like,
Yeah,
and you know what, man? Like a lot of the things that we talk about, just want to reiterate a point is we text about things that we might talk about, and to be quite honest, man, we haven't like really been. I mean, you and I've been so busy. This is like the most catching up we've done.
yeah, of course.
Normally, I'll say I'll see you on the thread in 10 minutes, but yeah, it hasn't been like that lately. We're always texting like a week before that of like what we might want to be talking about, but really the ideas that we have are so ahead of the normies that like you have to come to zero basis points. All verticals at this point, like airlines, grocery stores, wealth management, we're here for you, you know. So there are other industries where like you could push AI. I think you and I could give like the best, really some incredible use cases. But even the stuff I'll see out there where I'm like, these are like leading voices on X,
Yeah, of
and I'm not impressed anymore. Like,
course.
it's like, I don't know.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I was gonna say, all the stuff we text about, one of them is, when we talk about all these ideas and stuff, it comes from just using the software, being at the forefront of doing it. And if my biggest thing was that you have to be at least when I would talk to clients in the first T3 we were at, I realized like a lot of people just hadn't even used Chat GPT. So you're telling them about something they don't even have an imagination around. So when you now that has caught up, a lot of people have seen ChatGPT, they've seen it in Copilot, whatever. So they're asking us if it's possible to do certain things with AI, which helps our effort. But realistically, a lot of the people we were talking to before, they just had no idea. They had not used it. So what I would do is when they would come up and ask me at the conference, like, what do you guys do? I'll be like, have you ever used ChatGPT before? And that was my conditional like question into knowing how much I can talk about AI or how far back I should go and kind of introduce them to the concept. And a lot of these people, back then were just like, I've only heard about it. Well, there's a large language model, there's GPT. Basically, it's looking at the words, and then when you are asking questions in natural language, it can go to the data and get it. But then some people were like, "Yeah, I've used ChatGPT. I use it all the time." And then I show them what ARCA is, and they're like, "Well, can you just connect into this thing and then pull this data?" I'm like, "Yes, done." It becomes much cleaner because a lot of what you said, like the normies, don't imagine what's out there if they haven't used it. And so one of my biggest kind of takeaways from not only this episode, just generally with the podcast and whoever I talk to, kind of in dealing with ARCA, it's like go out and use AI for just the daily stuff. And then you'll get an idea of how this is going to transform into what you're going to do for your work and where it can help you in your day to day. And I think that's where it becomes super interesting. And we see a lot of that because we're at the forefront of it. So,
Yeah, like remove Google as like a verb
yeah,
from
I
your
grok things
vocabulary.
is the new
It,
one now.
it, it is a noun. Like
Yeah.
it's a company. Don't verb it anymore. Like imagine like I'll give you a really good example that I just thought about. I have this new like I have two like I had to change the air filter in my HVAC, like the thing that makes my house cold. And you got to change out this filter and you got to figure out like which filter to reorder. Like imagine that process 5 years ago versus an AI application on which filter do I reorder and where. So like that process is less than a minute versus like sliding the thing out, turning it sideways, writing it down, and then Googling, and then checking if it's also on Amazon and
Yeah.
then at
Or
Walmart
it's no longer
locally.
produced, or here's a new model that replaces it, and you gotta go find that out from a forum
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, start using it. It was like in the beginning we were saying just start kicking the tires on crypto. Like you don't have to like try to make $1 million. Like just go lose 20. But just figure out how to wire up the accounts and see how the infrastructure is and get to know it, build a relationship and like, with AI, just like build a relationship with it because it's just gonna accelerate and make things cooler. It's not going to replace anybody. It's going to do all the stuff that sucks. It's the
Have you
same
seen
thing I
that
said on the
meme?
first episode.
Have you seen that meme where it's like in the future where AI has taken over and they're like they grab someone, it's like a little cartoon and it's like, oh, he used to always say please and thank you in his like chat GPT like prompt, so it's okay,
No,
let
I
him go.
don't.
So when you said have a relationship with AI, that's what I was remembering. It's like say please and thank you to your AI chatbot. So in the future when they take over the world, they're nice to you. But speaking of that, I think there was a statement, it was Sam Altman or someone else had made that said don't say please and thank you. It just takes
Dude, I was
like
gonna go there. I was gonna.
yeah,
That's where I was gonna go there. Yeah, it's like eating up. Like it's like making it think more. You know, it's like
exactly. Just go with the command. Just tell it what to do. It's okay. You're not being like impolite.
yeah. I guess at the same time, don't be mean because it
Of
probably has to
course.
think about the fact that you've been like, this person's not being aggressive, so
Yeah.
this person's being nice. It's just like, just tell it what you want. If it's wrong, tell it it's wrong. There's a little think icon. I don't know if you have to pay for it. I pay. Price of X went up like double. I'm like, what? I
Yeah.
don't know if you noticed that either. But I was like, did my son sign up for his own account? But
Now that
whatever.
XAI took in the X
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, I
entity.
better get my money's worth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Hey, we
mean,
will.
it's such an it saves me money.
I'm gonna be messaging our team, our Zero Bips team. I'm gonna be like, let's find a way to get Grok as a third as Jamie, equivalent of Jamie for the Joe Rogan experience. Just have it sitting around. We ask it questions whenever we need to, or we can just do the one inaugural kind of episode, episode 8, and we invite that's the host. We ask it all the stuff we want it to do,
Maybe we
or
save it for 9 because number 9 is alive. What was that movie when we were kids? There was like a robot that came alive. It was I remember it was number 9 out of all the robots, and
the
it was
ninth
number
one is the one
9
that.
is alive.
Well,
It was
we'll
some Disney
experiment with
movie.
8, and then we'll do like maybe a guest on
No,
9.
no,
But
maybe we'll do it on the next one. I'm
yeah,
just saying.
we'll see how quick. We'll see how much we got to do. Maybe there's a lot of development that I'm not thinking about yet to get it to that point. But with that said, one question for our billions of listeners, for those once we publish this, we'd love to know from you who you think would be great guests to bring on. We have our list that we always cross-reference of people we think are pretty impactful in the industry, but um, we'd love to open it up. Just like we say, tell us where we're wrong about stuff. Feel free to comment on the posts when we post it out there. Who you would like to hear on the podcast, and we'll try to track them down. That'll be exciting. I'd love to get people on the podcast to fight us on stuff if they disagree or talk about their experience with AI and everything else they're doing in the industry.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I'll say to like some people hit us up about this. I know the same thing happens to you to like say that they listen to this.
Well, I
So,
get
you
texts.
know, yeah.
People are like, Was this client you were talking about?" The last one was the when I said one of my clients was running in Boston, like they had a temperature gauge of like when they go out. Someone was like, someone who also there was their mutual client. He's like, "Are you talking about them?" And I'm like, "Yep, you got it." So
Yeah, yeah. So, sometimes I'll be like, people say things. I'm like, oh man, shoot, people are really listening. I'm like, uh, I got myself comfortable with the episode by telling me that nobody listens to this thing, and then here we are. No, but like you said, the feedback's incredible. Would love to know like what you want us to talk about, where you think you might be wrong, where you think the industry might be in 3 years. We think we have a pretty good idea. That's why we love talking about it. It's like the driving conversation Haik and I have, which we have a lot of fun with. So it's been an awesome, I guess, I don't know how long we've been talking, but man, it was good to catch up with you again, dude.
yeah, no, it was it's awesome to catch up. I think the next one will make it exciting. We'll make the next couple exciting, but I'm gonna try to get Grok on here. I'll figure that part out from a technical perspective, but yeah, let's keep building. And we'll connect on the next one. Thanks again for your time, George. Looking forward to catching up. Well, we'll be on the threads in 10 minutes probably, but we'll
Of
definitely do the
course.
next one soon. Make it
Talking again
exciting.
soon, but always great to chat on.